Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TeaKnits podcast. My name is Lauren, and this is episode 9. I know it's been a while since I've last podcasted. I will talk to you about pretty much what's been going on here. But before I get into that, I just said my name is Lauren. I want to thank all returning viewers, and thanks to all new viewers who are checking out the podcast for the first time. Thanks for hanging out for a little while with me. And we have a Ravelry group. That's the TeaKnits podcast, TeaKnits being one word. And I hope that you can come over and join us. There's some chatter. Occasionally we have a giveaway. So anyway, for the last, I guess, 7 or 8 weeks, about 7 or 8 weeks, it's been pretty crazy. I last podcasted towards the end of my semester. For those of you that don't know, I am a college professor, and obviously come May, things can get pretty crazy, busy with wrapping things up for the semester. So I podcasted about 2 weeks before the end of my semester and thought I would be able to podcast right after the semester ended. Well, that following weekend was commencement. I was going to podcast. I ended up with a migraine. I was sick. And then I started to get better, and then I got sick again. And it's kind of difficult to podcast when you're coughing quite a bit, and I didn't think that you all would appreciate me coughing consistently. So I waited, and then I ended up during that time, even though my semester was over, I'm under obligation, and so I had a lot of staff development workshops and a lot of different things that were going on. And then obligation ended, and I've still been going to work for the last week and a half to 2 weeks because I'm on a search committee, and so it has been quite busy, even since the semester ended. So I am looking forward to summer and just relaxing a bit. I am teaching an online class right now as well, and so that is also keeping me busy, and I probably should be grading some of their work right now, but podcast grading, I think I'll go with the knitting and the podcast instead. Those presentations aren't going anywhere. I'll grade them later today. So that's kind of in a nutshell where I've been for the last 7 or 8 weeks, pretty much since the beginning of May, and now we're here at the end of June. I just can't believe it's the end of June, and next week is, a week from today is the 4th of July. So this year is kind of going pretty quickly, pretty busy, but I do have a lot to show, so this episode might be a little bit of a longer episode, as there's a lot of stuff to either side of me and behind me, so this might be a longer episode, so hang in there for a little while. Carla's around. I think he's actually sleeping on the dining room table where he's not supposed to be, being naughty, so he may make an appearance, he might not. So that's kind of where I've been. During that staff development workshop time period, I taught a workshop again to some of my colleagues on how to knit, and I cap it at 8. There's another girl and I that do the workshop together, and we figure with eight people, the two of us would be able to help people who are trying to learn Never Knit for the first time. I think we had 9. I did invite the provost to come, and she came, and I taught her how to knit, and she had fun, so that was pretty exciting. And so yeah, it went pretty well. Everyone was really enthusiastic. They really had a good time, and they were able to get the hang of it, not just the basic knitting stitch, but they were also getting to purling, and then at the end we taught them how to bind off. So they made these little tiny swatches, but you know, when you first learn, you add stitches, things are a little wonky, and we said that's okay, because when we first all learned how to knit, it's not perfect. So they had a really good time. I had handouts with information and pictures, so hopefully they'll be able to go home and continue to knit. The provost did message me that night and said, I messed something up, I'm going to pull it all out. And I said, no, don't, I'll be in tomorrow, I'll take a look at it. And somehow she had just gotten things turned around, and I was able to fix it for her. And so hopefully she's in a little bit more since then, but I haven't seen her. So that was pretty fun. So they did that that was in the middle of June, about 2 weeks ago. That was pretty fun, actually. So it's not just about me talking about what I've done for the last 2 months, but it's a knitting podcast. You've come to hear about what tea I'm drinking this week, and all of these things over here, and then behind me back there. But first, I'm drinking tea from the Whistling Kettle. I've talked about some of their tea before. This is the Chocolate Cake Honey Bush. So based off of the description on the package here, it's a lively, sweet, chocolatey cake aroma and a beautiful decoration of rosebuds. It does have this smell of chocolate cake. When you smell it, it smells like chocolate cake. It tastes, when you first have some, it does taste like chocolate cake, but it's not sweet, which is nice because I don't think I could drink a whole mug of tea if it was sweet like chocolate cake. So it starts off chocolatey, like cake, and then it ends more with that, as the description said, more of the rosebuds, lighter flavor. It's not pure chocolate. It doesn't taste like hot chocolate the whole time. So that's actually kind of nice. So it is a decaf. It says, I was looking at the ingredients. It doesn't say specifically what is in it, but it says decaf. So I don't know if it is light on the tea leaves or if it's caffeine free. My guess is that is light on the tea leaves. I don't know if it's white tea, green tea. My guess is it could be a little bit of a white tea. Not 100% sure. If it was caffeine free, probably would say caffeine free on it. So I really like it. I just ate lunch, and so it's kind of nice to have a dessert flavored tea to have following lunch. All right, so my finished objects. I have quite a few here. Some of them I don't have because I've given them to their recipients, but some of these here are going to other people soon. I've been holding off on giving them away, but I wanted to show them. So first I have, and you've seen I think one of them before, the second one maybe in progress. These are socks. They're just plain vanilla socks at a Knit Picks Felici, and it is the Beyond the Wall colorway. I finished them a while ago. I just kind of had a collection of my finished objects. So you can see, the stripes. I did do an afterthought heel on these. I like to do afterthought heels a lot of times with self-striping to maintain the striping sequence. So they are definitely not identical. They are fraternal socks, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't think the recipient's really going to care in the end. But they're nice and soft. Again, I make socks for friends and for other people, a lot of times out of Knit Picks Felici, because it is durable. It can go in the washing machine, and it is nice and soft. The other ones that I think I had just started or was about to start were my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks for May. Yeah, for May, because we're at the end of June. And these I used the Borscht colorway, and they were very spring-like to me, which is why I chose these colors for the month of May. And I used the Vanilla Bean pattern. So again, I did the afterthought heel, so you can see that there's a little bit of white. The toes and heels they're fairly similar. They're not 100% identical, but they're pretty close. So this was the Vanilla Bean pattern by Emily O'Grady, and you can see that it's not a straight up vanilla sock where you just do stockinette round and round and round. There's a little bit of character as you change the colors and the stripes. So it just changes it up a little bit from the regular plain vanilla, and sometimes I'll do that just because I want to change, just a change from the standard knit, 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 knit. Again, that's the Desert Vista Dye Works. That was my May socks. And so I had done 5 months. Now my 6-month ones, I just finished the other day while I was at home visiting my parents. And I used the James Bond, The Spy Who Loved Me colorway. And I did Hermione's Everyday Socks. And I'd never done this pattern before. And I don't know if it was the colorway or the pattern or the combination of both, but I did not really enjoy making these socks. I think it may have been the colorway that didn't really inspire me, and I just kind of was like, I don't really want to work on these socks. But I did finish them, and when I was sitting on the couch Saturday night when I finished them, I put them on my feet. I was showing my mom, and she's like, oh, but I really like them. They're really nice. I said, do you want them? And she's like, okay. So I went, here are the socks. So I'll insert a picture of the socks. They were on my feet, and then I put them on her feet. I made her put them on. So they're not going to be on the sock blockers, but I'll insert a picture so that you can see the June Desert Vista Dye Works socks. So I have finished 6 months of the monthly sock club that she does. And so I think with that, I've earned myself a free skein of her yarn, which is pretty cool. So they're all, I like the self-striping. And so I've got 6 months done. So that's pretty exciting. It was a goal I set to try and do the whole year. So I've gotten 6 months done. So we'll see. Hopefully I can continue for the next 6 months. I've also finished another pair of socks. The last pair of socks that I've finished. These are plain vanilla socks. I knit these for a coworker. There were circumstances this past semester where she had to pick up one of the labs for a class that I was teaching, and she taught one lab and I had someone else teaching the other lab, and they're adjuncts. The other one was an adjunct and he got a full-time job, and so she had to do extra service, meaning that above and beyond her normal course load, and she picked up a third of the way through the semester to do this extra lab. And she does all the prep for the labs, and she's very speedy in grading and very thorough. And as a thank you, I wanted to knit her a pair of socks. So she doesn't know she's getting these, and I probably should have given them to her already because they've been done for over a month, but I wanted to show them to you. Again, these are in Knit Picks Felici, and they're a little long for my sock blockers because she has big feet. This is the Lost Lakes colorway, and they're just, vanilla. When I do my just plain vanilla socks, I do a knit 2, purl 2 rib for 10 rounds, then knit the cuff, the whole leg. If I'm doing an afterthought heel, I will put in the scrap waist yarn, and then do the foot, and then the toe, and then go back and do the heel. As you can see, this is where the end of the sock blocker is, and they're a bit longer. She has large feet. Her office mate, I asked her office mate several months ago what size shoes she wore. She goes, I don't know, but she may have a pair of shoes under her desk. So I looked, and she did, and she wears a size 10 in women's, but she doesn't know I know this because we were at these day-long workshops back in early June, and I asked her what size shoes she wore, and she just said big. So these were done. She has no idea that I made these for her and that I actually know what size shoe she wears. So I'm looking forward to giving them to her. Hopefully I can give them to her in the next few weeks if I see her over the summer. But they are ultimately, I thank you for everything that she did and going above and beyond for me this past semester. So those are the 3 socks that I have to show you that I have finished. Again, I have finished 4 pairs of socks since we've last chatted. I also finished a barley hat, and this yarn I got at New York Sheep and Wool, otherwise known as Rhinebeck, in October. And this yarn is from Dancing Leaf Farm, and it is it's her Bebop base. I don't have the tag on me, but it's the Bebop base, and it's the Polar Vortex colorway. I like it. It's, to me and to my boyfriend and to my parents, they're like, oh, those are Penn State colors. And I said yes, which is why I went for it. But I like it. I have some left over. It's the first time I've knit a barley hat, so I kind of jumped on the bandwagon in the last month with a barley hat from TeaKnits and the Hermione's Everyday Socks. This was a very fast, fun knit. I do suspect I will be making more of these hats, possibly to give away as gifts. This yarn is really soft. Feels good on the head. I can't say enough about that pattern. And then the last finished object I think that I have, one more to show you, but I finished 2 others, is this was my May work in progress for the Downstiller Studios WIP 2017, the butt. And I think I showed it the last time. It was the beginnings of a baby blanket that I started over a year ago for, at that time I didn't know what, no, actually I just found out that I was having a niece instead of a nephew. And so I started this blanket, but then put it down and didn't work on it. So it's now done. So you can see it's nice and soft. I used Barocco Comfort, which I really like. It's durable. I've made other baby blankets from this yarn, and my friends said that it's nice and soft. It can go in the washing machine pretty well. It holds up pretty well. And what I did is, you can see it has the tan color and the purple. I just held 2 strands together and to do this blanket. So it is, I did a seed stitch border, just stockinette in the middle, and happens a year later you find a mistake in it. Oh well, too late now. I'm not going to take the whole thing out to fix it, and she won't notice it. The baby won't notice. So I'm going to see her tomorrow, and so I'm going to give this to my niece tomorrow. So I'm excited. I really like that blanket. It's not a set pattern, but it's kind of a pattern that I use when I'm making baby blankets. And I really, as I said, I really like the yarn. The details of the blanket are in my project pages in Ravelry. And the last finished object I have was the slouchy beret. I was just looking at my project page and didn't write down the designer. It's a slouchy beret. It was a free pattern on Ravelry. I used Yarn Cafe Creations Rail colorway. It was really, really cool. It's got this kind of swirl lace pattern in it as it swirls around the hat. I will insert a couple pictures here. So that you can see it, but it was a really, really fun pattern, a fairly easy pattern, and when I gave it to the recipient, she absolutely loved it. And so isn't that what makes knitting worthwhile, is when you give it to the recipient and they're really excited and they really love it. So I'll insert a picture of that. So those are the finished objects I'd had in the last couple months. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 things I have finished in the last 2 months or so, but I do have a lot of works in progress as well. So what happens when the semester's over, I wanted to cast on all the things, and I still do. But when you still have work obligations, it makes timing a little more challenging. Okay, so what have I been working on? Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff here and here, so we'll go through them one by one. These are one of my Suburban Stitcher bags. I have the Possessed Printer Mitts by Emma Galati, and I got the inspiration to make these from Candy, who has the podcast Pause 4 Stitches, with the number 4 not spelled out. And I met Candy at the Knit Local Getaway in April, and found out I had heard about her podcast, but I hadn't watched it. And then after that, after I got home, I ended up binge watching it over the last couple months. I think I sat down over a period of a week and watched a lot of, like almost all of her episodes. She's pretty cool. I'd suggest checking her out. She has 2 really cute dogs that are in her logo and also make appearances. And they seem like a lot of fun. Anyway, I got the inspiration for these mittens from Candy. I saw them and they're pretty cool. And the pattern calls for DK weight yarn. And I don't really have a whole lot of DK in my stash. And so I decided, looking at projects, some people had made them out of fingering weight. And I figured if I made them out of fingering weight, then they'd be good for those transitional months. September, October, before it really got cold. Or even in the winter, I could wear them in my office where it can be chilly. And this pattern is also recommended to use variegated yarn. It's good for those highly variegated yarns. And so I have this yarn. You can see how bright those colors are and how fun it is. And this is yarn from Candy Skein, and it is the Atomic Jelly Bean colorway. And this was her, I think, April 2014 colorway, and I absolutely love it. And I was holding on to it. I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. And when I saw this pattern, I was like, this is perfect. If you hear a dog barking, I apologize. One of my neighbors has a very yappy dog. Actually, a couple of them do, but one neighbor doesn't really have control over her dog, and she barks all the time. So I apologize if the barking, if you can hear it, and if it's loud and noisy. Anyway, this is the Atomic Jelly Bean colorway, and I love it. So I've got one mitt done, and you can see it's got ribbing up here and down here, and then it's got these, it's like these slip sort of stitches, but they're long. And I don't know, it's just got a really cool texture. This side is just stockinette, you know, not ribbing, easier to use, but I really like it. I've got a lot of compliments on these. Obviously, I have one done. End's not woven in yet. And here's the second one in progress. I'm just starting, like, the sunlight's washing out the color a bit. So you can see where I'm just starting on this one here. It'll go pretty fast once I work on it. I've actually just worked on these only when I've been walking down the street. I've taken them and I can knit, you know, very simply walking down the street, nothing complicated, but I've done that on 2 trips. But these mitts, they kind of curl up just because of the stitch pattern, so when I am done I will have to block them to straighten them out. But when they're on, when you wear them, you don't have that tight pulling. But I really like them. They're a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to finishing the second one and then making some probably out of a DK yarn. And I have more of another fingering, very, very highly variegated fingering weight that I'd like to make a pair as well. I think they'd make pretty good gifts too. So that's one work in progress. Second one I have, it's in here. Oh yes. I think I showed this to you shortly after I got it, was the Gale's Art sock blank. It's the black daisy. And I have knit one sock up completely. And so you can see where the flowers were, the black flowers. The black daisies are here, the black highlights in the sock. And so the first sock is done, and then here's the second sock, and I'm working on the heel. They're pretty much just plain vanilla socks, and I'm using the OMG heel by Megan Williams for the heel. I started these and was working on these in these day-long workshops we had at work. That were, you know, my colleagues were kind of like, oh man, these are really boring, and were a little jealous that I had something to do to keep myself somewhat entertained during these long, drawn-out sessions that we were having. Those are, I guess I'm calling them the Black Daisy vanilla socks. They also are in a Suburban Stitcher bag. Those were just kind of an extra one, not on a deadline, so I'll probably finish them within the next month. My Miso shawl by Amba O'Brien has made a lot more progress, though I don't think I'm going to finish it by the end of the month. I have gotten all the increases done, and now I've started to get onto the decrease section. So I'm about halfway or so. If I sit down and work on this, it flies and goes really fast. But I haven't actually knit a whole lot in the last 2 weeks because it's been really humid. And the last thing you want to do is have a heavy wool on your lap when it's humid outside, when it's about 85 degrees and sticky. And it's been pretty hot lately. So I haven't done as much knitting as normal. Here's the colorway. This is a singles. It's the Ruth base by Spencer Hill Naturally Dyed Yarn. And it's starting to rain. And there went Carl. Carl gets really scared with heavy rain, thunder, and fireworks. And I think I saw an alert come by on my phone. It said a special weather alert. It started raining. It's big fat drops outside, so Carl slinked off from the window and over that way. He'll probably go hide in the basement. So if you hear rain or hear some external noises, it's rain. It's coming down in big fat raindrops right now. Anyway, this is the wine glass colorway. Singles. It's a merino base, really soft. I just need to sit down and finish this. So again, the heat has not been kind to me. Again, in another Suburban Stitcher bag. So, the designer for this is Amba O'Brien. It's Miso, M-I-S-O. And I've been knitting this for our Amba O'Brien knit along, which was going to be ending June 30th, but I think I'm going to extend it to July 15th, but I'll get into that a bit more shortly. Another work in progress I have is the Fairy Hill Shawl by Helen Stewart, and kind of hard to see all it. You've probably seen a lot of pictures on Instagram for this. It is part of the Shawl Society 2. Oh, there's the thunder. And now I know why Carl went running away. The Shawl Society 2, and this was the first one of 6 patterns that I released over a period of 6 months. Being that the first one came out in May and it was during the semester, I was slow to the party, slow to joining the party. So this is the May one. I'm using Hue Loco yarn, and they're both tweed. So this is the main color. It's showing up more blue here, but it is definitely more purple, I think, because the light changed because the clouds have rolled in. And then this is the color that will be more along the border, and it is more of a lilac color. So I've been enjoying it. Again, it's just been put aside because of, in a sense, self-imposed deadline knitting because of Desert Vista Dye Works or the whips that I want to get done each month. And then I have my artichoke French sweater. And yeah, so the light has definitely gotten darker in here because the dark clouds have rolled in. So hope it's okay. So the artichoke French sweater I started in October, thought maybe I would get it done for Rhinebeck last year, and I didn't. And then I just shoved it in the bag and I said I'll get to it later. So I decided I would work on it this month over the summer when I had more time. So the body is now done. I know it looks kind of skinny, and I'm not a big girl, but it does have a bit of stretch to it. And you can see that there's a pattern. You can hear the thunder. You can see this pattern as it goes down the side. It's on both sides. So this is the body that goes pretty much to right underneath the arms. and then you work the sleeves separately, and then you'll attach the sleeves and then make the yoke and then make the neckline and collar and everything. So here is the first sleeve. I started it, today's Tuesday, so I started Sunday night and I finished it this morning. And this is the right sleeve because there are thumb holes. So you have to have the proper orientation for the left side and the right side. So you can see that this pattern goes all the way. Oh, that's some loud thunder and lightning. And there comes the rain. You can see this pattern going up the arm, goes all the way up. And obviously it's oriented weird because it's just a sleeve not attached to anything. But this is the one sleeve. And then so I started the second one, and hopefully we'll get to finish that. My guess is probably tomorrow, which is Wednesday. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this for the month of June for the WIP 2017 in the butt, but I should be able to finish it in July, no doubt. And the last work in progress I have to show you is not a knitting project, but a crochet project. And after seeing everyone's blankets, crochet scrappy blankets back in December around the holidays, I watched them and looked at them and said, oh, that's nice, but I've got stuff going on, and I fell down the rabbit hole right after the last podcast. So you all know I knit a lot of socks, and with that I have a lot of leftovers and scraps. And so here is what I've got so far. And this is how long it is. It's shorter than my wingspan, so it'll be a nice kind of lap blanket on the couch. But if you look at each, you can see each of the color changes. I can take a look at them. Oh, that's loud. You probably hear that. I can take a look at each one of these color changes and know what pair of socks they are, and know who they are from. Hopefully that's better light now. I turned a light on. Alright, so I can take a look at this and see all the different socks in a sense that I've knit and who they may be for. A lot of them are for myself. So there's a lot of memories. So it is another kind of that cozy memories blanket, but not in square form. So I'm really enjoying it. I have a lot of scraps. I haven't worked on it in probably about 2 weeks. But it's a lot of fun. I really, really like it. And crocheting does happen to use up more yarn than knitting does. So it's going pretty fast. I haven't spent a whole ton of time on it. Those are all my works in progress. So you can see that there's been a lot going on here in the last 7 weeks. Now that I'm not having to teach class and grade papers as much, I have more time to spend on knitting. Okay. So that's everything that was here and that was here. Now we're going to talk about what's on this side of me over here. So I'm going to just show some of the acquisitions that I've gotten over the last couple months. Oh, it's loud. So participating in the Desert Vista Dye Works Knit Along, you can post your pictures on Instagram as well, and for every milestone, in a sense, for Instagram posts, you get like little awards. And so for 5 posts, you get a button. For 10, you get yarn tags. For 20, you get stitch markers. And so these look like the little yarn tags that Susan sent. And then here are stitch markers. And then I think in here is the button. It says the 3rd Annual Desert Vista Dye Works Monthly Sock Club. And so in addition to posting your finished socks, you can win little prizes through Instagram as well. And so she's got them for 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, etc. As more you post on Instagram, you can earn other prizes. Back at the beginning, or June 10th and 11th, that weekend, was the Central New York, not Central Pennsylvania, the Central New York Fiber Festival. And I went, and I got just a couple things. I got more yarn from this Spencer Hill naturally dyed yarn. This is her Pippi base, and this is the tutu colorway. And I got it in the bar blues and with Friends Like These. So it's a blue, a dark purple, and a pink color. And I thought I'd put them together to make a shawl, a 3-color shawl of some kind. Obviously, that's what I made. That's the same yarn I made, base that I made my Quicksilver out of by Melanie Berg. And same dyer, different base for my miso. Weather alert until 3:30. Another 45 minutes. Heavy rain. I hope it doesn't start hailing. Okay, and then I got yarn from Shirsty Cat Designs. I looked at her yarn last year. Thought it was really colorful. She has some really vibrant, really neon colors. And this color is called Space Unicorn. So it's got pink and black and coral fur and some yellows. It's a little bit of green in here. And it's Space Unicorn. I saw this and absolutely fell in love with it. I think that I might make the Possessed printer mitts out of this as well. So these are what I got at the Central New York Fiber Festival a couple weeks ago. There's a few other things I want to show you that I got lucky in getting. Towards the end of the semester in May, I had a little bit of insomnia, so I'd wake up in the middle of the night at like 3 in the morning and kind of go, all right, try to fall back to sleep. Realize I was not going to be falling back to sleep, so you pick up your phone, you start searching the web. I was like, well, let me see if there's anything exciting on Etsy. And, well, I happened to be scrolling along on Etsy, and 2 different dyers who always have Etsy shops that sell out like this had stuff. Who knew? 3 in the morning. Coloring book yarn. Ooh, lightning. No thunder? This is the Winter Remix Hexie, and we're having a thunderstorm. Times. And Carl's probably hiding in the basement. Sorry for the crinkling. Alright, here's the colors. It's definitely more of a winter kind of mix to them than summer, but I don't care. I don't wear wool socks in the summer. But her yarn is extremely, extremely hard to get. And so when I saw this in her shop, I just jumped at it. And it's got oranges and greens and black. Definitely, you know, as I said, the colorway is Winter Remix Hexie. It's 400 yards, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. I'm excited to at least get one of her skeins of yarn because they're so hard to come by. The other one that's really hard to come by that I've heard a lot about are the sock blanks from Andre Sue Knits. Now that night when I woke up in the middle of the night, there I think were a couple sock blanks, but not necessarily the patterns that I was interested in. And so I started watching, and she was randomly posting sock blanks over the next couple days. And I saw one and I said, ooh, that one's pretty cool. And so I was able to score one of her sock blanks. And I haven't taken it out of the package yet because I want to show you and I want to use it, but this is some of the moths, and they're just absolutely amazing. And so I think I'll probably just use 2 of the moths for a pair of socks, and then from what I've seen, people end up using like 2/3 to 1/2 to 2/3 of the sock blank, when they're actually making a project. So I don't anticipate using all of it. It's 75% superwash merino wool, 25% nylon for 460 yards. So I'm pretty excited to actually have scored an Andre Sue Knits sock blank because they are so hard to get a hold of. Again, but this is from Insomnia, so if I never get yarn from Coloring Book Yarns or Andre Sue Knits again, I'm okay because I have one from their shops. I also ordered, again, from Tilting Planet, and I ordered one of her sock blanks, and this was just sock blank 14, 463 yards, 100 grams. Man, it's getting dark in here. And then this one is Ocean in a Bucket, and it's blues and greens. So here's some blue and a lighter colored. And there's even a little bit of yellow. It's almost like sand, right? So you've got the ocean, you've got the sky, you might have some of the sand when you're in ocean in a bucket. And Beverly was really kind. I put in this order and she was really kind. I opened the package and there weren't just my 2 yarns in there, but there was a third. And these are my colors. I opened this and I squeaked really loud and was like, oh my gosh, it was so sweet. This colorway is Moonlight. It is on a Apollo base, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And it's got pastel blues and purples in it. It is really soft, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I absolutely love it. And her shop, she updates, hear the thunder? She updates usually on Thursdays. Her Etsy shop is tiltingplanet.etsy.com. I suggest go check her out. I love her yarn. I did the Mystery Knit Along a Mother's Heart by the Periscoping Sisters with some yarn I got from her. It was great to work with. It was absolutely beautiful. And I've ordered more yarn, and one of the prizes for the Amba O'Brien Knit Along is also from Beverly. So those are the things that I wanted to show as far as yarn. My friend Lee, she had a shop on Etsy, talk about some of her, some of the bags that I have are from her. Unfortunately, she did close her Etsy shop down, but she will take custom orders. So as she was closing her shop, I did order a little tiny like Notions pouch, and this matches my bag that I currently have my Find Your Fade in. It's the same pattern. And then I've got these double point needle holders, these whip minders if people call them. They have sheep on them. Oh, it's upside down. Sheep, and this one's wearing a hat. It's so cute. But I got 2 because I was going to keep one for myself and then give one in a giveaway at some point later on. The insides of these are different. This one is white with little polka dots and stars. And this one has is red with white polka dots. Both are really cool, but I wanted to share them. Lee has done some really good work, so check her out on Instagram. She's Frances Giff, FranceSgiff. If you wanted something custom made, she's very flexible. And the bag that I had for my Find Your Fade, she did it as a custom order, and I love it. I absolutely love it. You remember about me gushing about that back in January. So those are the things as far as my enabling that I wanted to show you that I've gotten over the last couple months. As far as plans going forward, I do want to cast on all the things, but obviously I have quite a few works in progress, as I showed you today, that I really want to get done sooner than later. I do plan on, I was speaking with Christy from the Innocent Knit podcast, and I did hear Michelle from the Actually Knitting podcast. They're both talking separately about knitting on The Breathing Space by Vera Balamaki. And I have been thinking about making that for a while, thinking about what yarns I'd had. And when Christy mentioned it on her last episode, not the most recent one that came out today, I believe, but the last one, she was showing yarn that she had gotten that she wanted to make the breathing space. So she and I may have a knit along, whether it's the two of us or if there's anyone else who'd like to make a breathing space along with us. That is pretty cool. Nothing formal, but I have in my stash these two skeins. They're not as bright. That's probably more the color. These were also from Candy Skein. I've talked about her before, candyskein.com. And these were her September of 2014 colorway. And I thought putting that with this also, Candy Skein, and some of the blue that's in here is very similar to the same blue that's in these. And this one here's just part of her Star Wars snack series with the Rebel Princess Pop Rocks. So this yarn is 463 yards. It is 75% merino superwash, 25% nylon, and this is the same, pretty much the same base. So I thought these would be a good breathing space, with the blue being the main color and the speckled being the stripes. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Obviously I have to finish a few things first before I cast that on. Obviously I still have to wind the yarn into cakes. I also have plans for July Desert Vista Dye Works socks. Here's the colorway. That's a little more accurate. And this is somebody, was it We're Off to See the Wizard? So it's off, You Are Off to See the Wizard. It's one of the Zombody colorways. So there'll be stripes and a Zombody stripe in there. So these will be my July socks for Desert Vista Dye Works. I can't start those until Saturday at the earliest, which is why it's not wound. And what else? Oh, right. So we had a giveaway from Brazen Raven Fiber Arts where I had test knit the Frog Pond cowl, just here, and she was very kind to donate a package with yarn and stitch markers, and she will send the winner the pattern to go with it electronically. And so in the group I had said in this giveaway thread to what was your favorite thing that you've knit and what was the biggest fail in a sense, and we had 12 different people comment about their favorite knit and their fail, and I loved your stories. A lot of your fail stories were pretty much when I was a new knitter, this is what happened. So right before I podcasted, I used Siri to pick a number between 2 and 13, and it came up with number 6, who was Rosie L. And it's Rosie. She said her favorite knit was an Elizabeth Zimmerman pattern where she had to redo some math and the color work in her yoke, and she posted a picture of her wearing this sweater, and it's absolutely beautiful. Great job on that sweater, Rosie. And she said her biggest fail was when she was still an early knitter. She made a sweater and she was not really familiar with fit, and the sweater ended up having too short of sleeves and was overall too short. So I've been there. I learned that when I make sweaters now I have to add more to the body because my first couple were also too short. So I'm with you there, Rosie. But congratulations. If you just want to touch base and PM me with your address, and I'll get the kit out and I'll make sure that that pattern gets sent to you. Don't have another giveaway right now, but we do have the Amba O'Brien knit along, which I was talking about earlier, and I'm going to extend that deadline to July 15th. There are a couple of you who have entered your finished objects. Your projects are absolutely beautiful, stunning, amazing work. They're absolutely amazing. I really loved what's been posted so far. So if you're working on your Amber projects, please finish them up. I'm going to give you an extra 2 weeks. I'll close. It will probably be about July 15th. I'll close it when I podcast around that date, and because I know that some of you are working on these projects and are not quite done. For that giveaway, I have a skein of Tilting Planet yarn in the papaya colorway, and this yarn has some stellina in it. You can see some of the sparkles. It's 5% stellina, 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon. It's 438 yards. This colorway is really beautiful. I can't say enough about Beverly's yarns. She does really nice work. So that's kind of what's going on in the group as far as giveaways, knit-alongs. I would like to know what kind of knit-alongs would you guys like to have going forward. I know that there's so many out there, whether it's a self-striping or a whip it in the butt or this sock knit-along or the Pal Cal with the Actually Knitting podcast or the Splash Pad with Downseller Studios or the Batter Up Cal with the Christy and the Innis Knit podcast. There's so many out there. But I'm just thinking that, I don't mind if you double dip or you poly dip. But where do you guys like making? What kind of knit-along would you guys be interested in? And it doesn't have to be right now, but we can think about them for the future. So if you just want to give those comments in the thread for this episode, then we can try and plan some fun things going forward. I would like to get more involvement from you guys. I do want to thank you for the dog barking, putting up with the dog barking, the thunderstorm, the change in lighting, and well, my guess is you heard the thunder and the rain. And thank you for your patience for the last 50 minutes or so while I've podcasted. It's great to be back sharing all this with you. Hopefully I'll be back in about 2 weeks or so, and it won't be such a long episode because I won't have 2 months worth of items to show you. So I hope everyone's summer is going well, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.